Everyone, this is Steve Netter with Best Thriller Books. In a moment, I'll be joined by author William Kent Krueger to talk about his latest Cork O'Connor book, God's Country, which happens to be the latest edition, the 22nd edition, in what I would say is my favorite series in print today. And God's Country really is incredible. It's dark, it's emotional, it's suspenseful, it's edge of your seat stuff that really puts Cork O'Connor through the ringer, even more so than has been put in the ring through the ringer in the past. It's really powerful, it's intense, and it's written in the first person for the first time as well, which really allows you to dive into Cork's psyche during this ordeal that he's put through. So, like I said, it's fantastic. Please pre-order a copy. And if you aren't reading the series, I urge you to go pick up the first book in the series called Iron Lake and get started. Actually, maybe even start with Lightning Strike, which is a prequel that'll get you going. I promise you, once you pick up one, you will not be able to put it down. Welcome, folks, to a Best Thorough Books roundtable of, well, one, just me, interviewing one of our team's favorite authors, William Kent Krueger. William Kent Krueger is the author of the wonderful Cork O'Connor series, as well as several standalone books like This Tender Land and Ordinary Grace. If you aren't reading his books, get to it. I don't know what you're waiting for. So, William, thank you so much for joining us. It is a true honor to have you with us today.
A pleasure to be with you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
You got it. So just have a couple of questions, but before we jump into that, let's just start with your latest book. So this is the 22nd Cork O'Connor book, if I have that right.
That's correct.
It's called God's Country. It comes out on August 18th.
Yep.
Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about it? What's your elevator pitch on why they should pick up a copy?
The novel opens with Cork leading his family into the male members of his family into the boundary waters for what he believes will be his usual experience, which is a soulful experience in that beautiful wilderness. But when his path crosses the path of men whose souls belong to the devil, all hell breaks loose. There's not really any mystery involved in this story. It's just a thrill ride with lots to think about in terms of good and evil and the nature of God and the devil.
Yep, I think that's well put. I tend to, when I get through a Cork O'Connor book, I have to take a deep breath and think about what I just read because there's spirituality in it, there's some darkness, there's family and a lot of different themes. This one, though, I think skews a little darker than some of the other ones. Not to say that some of them haven't been dark. There's one book I'm still mad at you about, which I won't mention.
You and
Uh,
everybody else.
yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who's going to go read the whole series. But what led you to that? What led you to really focusing on Cork more than the totality of sort of his community and his family, and go a little bit darker?
We live in dark times, Steve.
Yeah.
And the book came out of that, all of the dark ruminations that all of the horrors that are thrown at us every day, um, in the way that they affect us, they affect our souls. And I wanted to speak to the darkness in a world that I believe was put here by the heart of the Great Spirit. And how can you come to terms with God's country and the devil there at the same time? Um, Honestly, this book had kind of a rough start in that I wasn't going to have a book out this year.
Mm.
And I got a call from my agent a year ago last spring, saying, if you don't have a book out this spring, you really disappoint readers because everybody expects a Cork O'Connor novel out in the fall. And I said, well, I don't have an idea for a Cork O'Connor novel.
Mm.
I have an idea for what might be a novella, but it's not a whole Cork O'Connor story. And she said, well, can you give me something more? And I said, okay, I have some novellas that I haven't done anything with. What if I wrote this up as a Cork O'Connor novella We put it with a couple of the other novellas, and we offered that to my publisher as a compendium.
Hmm.
And so she said, I'll check with your editor, get back to you. She came back to me and she said he doesn't like that idea. He wants a Cork O'Connor novel. And I said, Danielle, I don't have a story that's long enough
Hmm.
for a Cork O'Connor novel. But I swear to God, Steve, on the phone, as I'm having this conversation with her, how I could make that into a much longer, even more compelling story came to me.
Wow.
And I said to her, okay, I can give them a novel. And so I sat down and I began to work on God's Country, knowing that it was going to be a dark book, and knowing that the direction that that additional idea had given me would bring me to the place really I wanted to be in the end.
Wow. That's wild. Thanks for sharing that process. It's interesting because sometimes you think that it just comes easy, but it sounds like this one maybe was a little bit harder to come by.
Yeah,
So,
and typically I had a whole different process in the writing of this than I typically do when I write a Cork O'Connor novel. You know, most of my novels are mysteries, and mystery is really a tightly woven fabric of storytelling. Every element of the story depends so significantly on the other elements and the placement of those elements. So typically when I write a Cork O'Connor novel, I'll think that story through as completely as I can before I ever put my fingers to the keyboard. At the end of that thinking process, which can take weeks or occasionally it's taking even months, I know how the story begins, I know how it ends, I know who did what to whom and why, I know the themes I want to weave through this story. I know those moments of suspense I want to write to, how I'm going to plant my red herrings. But this story came to me so quickly, um, and with such a compressed deadline
mhm.
that I launched right into it and just let the story reveal itself to me as I was writing it. Very different creative process than I followed with the other Cork O'Connor novels. But Steve, it was pretty extraordinary, and I enjoyed the ride.
That's awesome. Well, that leads to a question I had in general, but I think you're talking about the mystery and the characters and stuff. Um, what tends to come to you first, or what's easier or harder, coming up with the mystery or figuring out what the character is going to do about it?
Uh, Coming up with the mystery is not hard. But creating the mystery itself, everything that goes into the architecture of the mystery can be incredibly difficult. Do you know, the plot is the least interesting thing for me in the writing of my
Hmm.
stories. There's a confession for you. Character is so much more important to me. Sense of place, the power of the language I use, all of those things are so much more important to me. But what do I think about at night when I'm not able to sleep? It's plot.
Hmm.
So as I was putting this book together, the plotting of it, I've been writing stories. I've been a storyteller forever now. And so these days, I simply rely on my instincts as a storyteller to help guide me. And that's pretty much what happened with this novel.
Right. Speaking of characters, I mean, Cork is the main character, and you've written about him in 22 different novels. As you're writing it, does it feel like writing Cork still feels like visiting an old friend, or does he still surprise you from time to time?
Oh, absolutely. He surprises me. I continue to discover aspects of his character that I hadn't considered before, and certainly in this one, the darkness that's potential in his character was an interesting journey for me. Um, I if Cork was so well known to me, maybe I'd gotten tired of writing him long ago. But I like that he continues to reveal aspects of his character that I'd never understood before. He continues to be more multidimensional than I had ever originally anticipated he would be. The relationships that he's involved in, this is his story. And it's told, unlike the vast majority of my Cork O'Connor novels, it's told in the first person because I wanted the immediacy of this story and the importance of it to Cork and how it so dramatically affects who he believes himself to be. I wanted the reader to be right there with Cork as that's occurring. So I wrote it in first person. So there again, just kind of a fun, different approach to the writing of the story, which keeps me interested, and I hope is part of what keeps readers interested in it.
It did for me. It was a little bit of a shock at first to get it in the first person, but really enjoyed that. And you put him through the ringer in this one. Um,
I always put him through the
you
ringer.
do. This one felt a little more personal almost, but like, do you ever feel guilty about what you put him through in these
Hey,
books?
it's not real. I can do anything to him I want to do. Do you know, in truth, he's probably more set in stone for readers than he is for me. Um, Writing is this sort of dis disjunctive, disjointed, whatever process wherein as an artist, you are standing outside what you're creating, looking at it artistically to make sure that the words you're using or the structure that you've created is good for the story. And at the same time, you have to invest your soul in that story so that the reader becomes emotionally involved in it. There's that interplay between artist and empathetic person that's always going on in when I write these stories.
Yeah, I gotcha. You've been writing for novels for a long time,
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. Thank you. Please don't
I
stop
I am
anytime
s- I
soon.
am so
But
blessed, Steve,
yeah,
that
well, we are
I've been
too.
able to make my living at this for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty awesome. But I'm curious, what's one thing about writing that's gotten easier for you over time, and what's something that's gotten harder?
The easy part is trusting myself more as a storyteller. I
Hmm.
don't second guess myself so much. My rewrites tend to be more in terms of finding the right word, uh, showing up maybe some weak points. But for the most part, I just simply, as the story comes to me, when it comes to me, I trust my instincts as a storyteller, and it makes the whole process so much easier. What's become harder is the business part of what I do, the promotion of it, the fact that I am now for a large number of readers a public person, and so I have to give them pieces of myself periodically to stay personally connected with them, that kind of thing, and that can be all of that can be wearing.
Sure, and I know you do some really long, large tours every time you put out a book. Why, number one, and how do you get through something like that? Because that takes a lot of energy and effort.
Yeah. Uh, why? I really like talking about myself in a public way. I
That's
love the
fair.
events. I draw so much energy from those events. Um, the other reason is that 99.9% of the stores I do events at are independents, rather than the chains. And that's because the independents were supporting me from the get-go. They were hand selling my books when nobody else knew who the hell I was. And so when I do a tour, I always make sure that I stop in those stores that have been there for me from the very beginning. Because I know that these days, if I do a book signing at a small rural store, the sales from that book could pay their rent for a month. So it's a way that I pay back to the book selling community. That's important to me. Uh, it takes a toll on me. By the time I'm finished, I often tell myself, I will never do this again. Then I have a new book out, and I feel obligated to to tour again.
Yeah. Well, we love supporting independent bookstores, so we appreciate that you do that as well. I think it's a really important fabric of our communities.
Here, here.
That's awesome that you do that. Um, Switching gears just a little bit. You said that readers sort of, they expect a little bit out of you. They want to know a little bit about you. What would surprise your readers most if they spent a day with you, that maybe they don't know already?
Yeah, I'm a pretty boring guy in general. I'm a guy of routine. So I get up at 6 o'clock every morning, 7 days a week, and I spend 2 or 3 hours writing. Then I have breakfast with my wife, and we do the New York Times crossword puzzle together. Then I go work out at the Y. I come back, I have lunch. Then I do the business of being a writer. or take a long bike ride. And in the evening, I settle on the patio with my wife where we play cribbage and drink wine. That's a pretty typical day. Not a lot of excitement there. So I think I pour all of the energy of my, adventurous self into my Cork O'Connor novels. Um, let's see. Another thing readers probably don't know about me that would surprise them is I'm terribly afraid of the dark.
Really?
Oh yeah, I always have been. I don't do any solo camping because I would freak out if I were alone in the dark north woods.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that one. It's a little more comfort when you're with someone else and not jumping at every single noise that you hear if you're by yourself.
You still do that with somebody else, but then you can kind of comfort one another. It's just squirrels. It's a raccoon.
Yeah, as a camper in the Pacific Northwest, I understand what you're saying.
Oh, sure. You have beautiful territory up there to camp out in. Yeah.
We do. We've got some really great national parks and
Yeah.
local parks and lakes and mountains and stuff. It's pretty awesome.
I think of Minnesota as God's country. I'm sure you think of Oregon as God's country.
Sometimes, yeah. It's there's some pretty unique, awesome places up here, just
I've
like
been to a lot of them.
I'm sure you have. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, hey, thanks for answering those questions. I do have a game I'd like to play, a little lightning round of
Okay.
Would You Rather. I warn you, these questions might be, or these choices might be a little off the wall, but it's on brand for us to have a little bit of fun and not take ourselves too seriously.
Okay,
Um,
let's give it a shot.
so let's give it a shot. And if you're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, you can say that. But we got like four or five of these, I think. So we'll go with the first one. So, would you rather? The first one is have the ability to morph into a mythical creature of your choice, but every time you do, anyone who sees you will try to hunt you, or have the ability to understand all animals, but if they find out you can understand them, they will constantly ask you for favors.
Oh, I would like to understand the language of all animals, and of course, I would. I try to help animals now without understanding them. I would try to do whatever they needed me to do because that's the kind of guy I am.
I had a feeling that was going to be your choice. So that I love it. Awesome. All right. Next one. Would you rather be teleported to the year 2050 and be allowed one Google search where you can browse the articles that gain knowledge before being teleported back, or you get a 2-minute phone call with your future self from the same year, 2050, and you can ask anything during that time?
Yeah, that call would be wonderful. There are so many times I wish I could talk to my past self and give advice. So I'd love to hear advice from my future self.
That's a good one. I don't know if I want to talk to my future self. Think about that one a little bit.
My future self would tell me you should have taken better care of your body.
That's what I'm afraid of. It's like, why'd you eat that stuff?
There
We're
you
paying
go.
for it now. Yeah. Awesome. All right, next one. Um, would you rather every night a squirrel wearing a funny hat visits your window, breathes on your glass and draws a heart before running away? Or every morning when your alarm goes off, a tiny garden gnome wakes you up by running around your room playing the banjo?
Do you know the garden gnome would freak me out? I would go with the squirrel in the heart.
Yeah.
As long as the squirrel's outside, I'm okay. That gnome in my room, I'll tell you, that's kind of a nightmare.
It'd be even worse if it was in the dark in the woods by yourself, right? Awesome. All right, we got two more here. Would you rather have a sort of skip card that allows you to legally skip to the front of any line that you're in, or would you rather have a button in your car that guarantees all traffic lights will be green for you?
Oh, I'd rather have the front of the line, particularly when I go to Disneyland or Disney World.
Gotcha. I get a
But
little
I can buy one of those actually.
well, there you go. Yeah, I would take the green light one. I get some road rage sometimes.
I'm very patient guy in traffic.
That's great. I've got a teenager who's learning to drive, and my wife yelled at me because he's taken up some of my habits of yelling at other drivers. They're doing nothing wrong, by the way. All right, last one here. So would you rather receive $500 for every full-size pickle you eat, but they scream and sometimes yell, "Please don't eat me" when you eat them? Or receive $700 for every full-size carrot you eat, but they plead with you by saying they have a family and baby carrots to take care
Oh God. Oh God, all I can think of here, I just saw the Odyssey, and all I can think of here is the Cyclops munching on those guys in the cave. Um, let's go with pickles. What the hell?
of. Yeah, that one's not very fair. They're both
So,
pretty
are
tough
these the
ones.
same questions you ask everybody, or do you create unique questions for each author?
We create unique questions for each
Okay.
author. You're sort of my guinea pig on the would you rather, but we've asked stuff like, we talked to a husband-wife writing team and asked who would survive the zombie apocalypse between them. That that got interesting.
I'll bet.
Yeah,
She would taste better than I do.
it was
Her
sort of
brain is bigger than mine.
it was like I run faster than her, so
Yes.
it's like, oh really? Yeah. So anyway, but thank you for being a good sport. I appreciate that.
Oh, that was fun.
Good. And thank you for joining us today. It is truly an honor to have you join Best Thorough Books to talk about God's Country. Huge fan of the book, huge fan of the series. We wish you nothing but tremendous success on that and the future books, and maybe another Cork book next year, perhaps.
Well, I'm working on the next Cork O'Connor novel. I'm not sure it's going to be finished in time for next year. I have found that in my old age, I have become more patient with myself as a writer, and hopefully my publisher will become more patient with me as well. But it's been a pleasure, Steve. Thanks so much.
Our pleasure. And hopefully readers will stay patient too, because if we know one's coming, that's all we need to keep us going. Right. So thank you again, William. Really appreciate it.